Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here. Sorry about my outfit. I got home. I was just soaked in the rain and got my jammies. So I'm in my jammies and it's too hot for the bathrobe. So thus my blown out neck here in the old T-shirt. Um, so I wanted to talk to you about if you're a Democrat, how you might try to cope with a Trump win. Now, I know you don't think Trump's going to win. That's why I'm talking to you now. Because now you won't be as emotional when Trump wins. When Trump wins, I think you're going to be insanely angry. And you're going to be like, what happened? That can't possibly happen. The media told us, aha, that's your first problem. You swallowed the media narrative. Those are the people you need to be mad at. Because there was no reason the media had to crown Joe Biden so quickly and so sloppily. Joe Biden is the projected winner. That doesn't mean anything. Al Gore was the projected winner. I think Al Gore actually won, but he didn't become president, did he? It doesn't matter who the projected winner is. It doesn't matter what the media says at all. Dewey defeats Truman was the famous newspaper headline. Didn't matter that the newspaper got that wrong. Didn't matter when, was it Time magazine, put Madam President on a cover of one of their magazines that then they didn't, they either published early or didn't publish at all. I forget. It's just not the media's job to crown the president. It's a legal procedure that we've had in this country for over 200 years, and we follow that. We do not follow what the media says. So those are the first people you should be angry about because they misled you. They misled you greatly. They told you Biden was winning by a great deal. He wasn't winning. His rallies, if you think about it. Now, you have to really think about it. You have to try to separate your emotion and really think about it. Biden's rallies were nothing. I mean, they were nothing. Trump would draw 2,000 people at an airport coming in for 10 minutes. 2,000 people would show up. Biden barely got 100 people at his rallies. Or maybe a couple of rallies he got a few thousand, but those were rare. Most of his rallies looked like a group of friends got together on his behalf and just hung out. Those could have easily all been staffers. They might not have been, there may have been no real people at his events at all. He was heckled at some of his events by Trump supporters who showed up. And the narrative he tried to balance, he tried to balance this bizarre narrative of, the beer virus is out there, so we can't have big gatherings, and that's why nobody shows up. No, that's just it's just not true. If Biden was as popular as his voting would indicate, there would have been thousands of people out to see him. Now, perhaps you could argue that if he had campaigned in, say, California, he might have gotten a few decent-sized crowds there, but he didn't. I don't don't even recall one appearance he made in California, quite frankly. Maybe one, and he really should have. He should have done a few campaign stops there just for the optics of it. But again, it was his problem because his cross to bear was, we should be in lockdown. Well, if we should be in lockdown, then you shouldn't be campaigning, and if you're going to campaign in lockdown, it doesn't make any sense because Trump's not going to do that. So you have to blame Biden, the candidate, as well. Really, I mean, the Democratic Party as a whole is to blame. If I had told you just 10 years ago, the Democratic Party will not beat Trump, you would have laughed at me. Certainly you would have laughed at me back in the 80s. You would have said, Donald Trump, there's no way. The Democrats would demolish him. And they should have, and they could have, very, very easily, with a very moderate platform. Trump would have been hard-pressed to do what he did. Trump only won because the Democrats have gone so far left and so far off the cliff. They don't have anything to offer anymore. They don't know what the next step is in their party yet. And Trump could have been that next step in a lot of ways because, you know, Trump understands where the culture war is, where people are mentally in this country. You know, one of the first things he did, he was at the RNC and he waved the pride flag. And just like that, the gay marriage issue in the Republican Party vanished. He understood that. He understood it was a losing issue for Republicans. He made it disappear. That's the kind of things the Democrats need to do. But they haven't gotten there yet. And one of the reasons they haven't gotten there yet is they've been enabled by the media for this long to believe their own hype. They believe they not only have won the election, but that they should win it. That they're better people, that they're more righteous, and that the Republicans are just worse than the stormtroopers from Star Wars. And that's simply not true. The Republican Party has greatly changed. And I'm not here to advocate for them. In fact, I'm a libertarian. I would love to see the libertarians in power, although not the current presidential nominee. But, you know, I would like to see a more moderate. And that's what Trump really is. He's really a moderate when you look at his policies. Not an extremist at all. And the media's narrative about him is a total lie. There were plenty of things to go after Trump for. Number one being spending too much money. Number two, some of his overseas adventures. But compared to the Democrats, that's nothing. It's nothing. When compared to the amount of money the Democrats want to spend on nonsense like climate change and critical race theory, you know, Trump is at least spending the money here. He's at least giving me my own money back. The Democrats, too, in terms of their foreign policy, have embraced war to a ridiculous degree. And they are terrible at it. They are, you know, Barack Obama thought he could manage the wars. Why they just continued forever, I guess. That's not what a good leader does. A good leader sets the pace. He doesn't manage it. And that's what Trump did. He changed the pace. The pace wasn't helping America enough, so he changed all that. And that's a good thing. You have to admit, all his peace deals are a good thing. The roaring economy, good thing. There were good things Trump did. Biden was in office for 8 years with Obama. And his list of accomplishments are tiny at best. Let's be real. I mean, if you're really big on universal health care, you can point to the ACA. But the ACA, as a rollout, was a disaster. They spent $1 billion on a website that didn't work. I can make a website for less than $10 on my phone. And they spent $1 billion of your dollars and couldn't make it work. Obama got us in many, many more wars, or warlike events, I should say. He didn't really end any war. And yet he accepted the Nobel Peace Prize. That's just embarrassing. And Biden, for his part, he was a buffoon. He was the court jester of Obama. The only thing he really contributed at some point, he was talking about taking Iraq and breaking it up into 3 or 4 states. Who the F is he to even propose that? It's not his country. And Biden will... Look, he's just falling apart. Okay? He won't last a whole term. Either the Democrats will remove him or the Republicans will. If dementia doesn't get him first, and then you got Kamala Harris, look, you've got a disaster brewing if these two get it. You should be glad Trump gets it. He'll run it out. He'll run out the clock for 4 years. Everybody will hate him in the media, and then you could take it back in 2024, hopefully with a decent candidate, someone who's more moderate, someone who's younger, someone like, I don't know, Buttigieg or even Klobuchar, one of those. Somebody with not real experience, but somebody with some new ideas who's not ready to throw us into socialism like his second day in office. Biden's just pandering. Will he do some of the things he's promised? Not many of them, but he'll do a lot of damage, much like the Antifa guys. He won't win, but he'll do a lot of damage on the way out. So just be happy that the country's going to have a nice economy, not have critical race theory running up and down all the federal things. And yeah, Trump will bluster and you'll probably feel bad about yourself, but in the end, the country will be good. Biden would weaken us, especially in front of China. And China, just so you know, is running like the Human Rights Watch at the UN for some reason, along with a bunch of other countries that have terrible human rights record. And they have just released a list of things the United States has to do because they're so wonderful and woke, or they pretend to be. You know, meanwhile, they're running a concentration camp, but they're lecturing us on racism. And for the record, the Chinese government and China itself is pretty racist. I don't know if you've seen the videos coming out, but Google them on YouTube. You can see how racism is tolerated pretty openly in Chinese society. So they have no business lecturing us, and they're not doing it out of a sense of civic duty. They're doing it because they're trying to weaken us. They're a bunch of communists. This is their tactic. And I wouldn't be surprised to find out that they have some connections to the shenanigans going on in our elections because they hate Trump too. He screwed them on a trade deal that Biden's very likely to undo. And then you got 2024. If you have Biden, the Republicans are going to come roaring back in 2024. First, they're going to take in the midterms and retake the Congress, probably impeach whoever is there. And then 2024, forget it. They're going to kick your head in. At least this way. Trump runs out the clock for 4 years, as he probably should, and does some good. And then you can come back with a brand new party. Something with all the bugs shaken out of it. Not this Antifa nonsense. You got to kick out these socialists and communists. You have to draw a definitive line in the sand and say, no, you're too far left. Go over there, join the socialists. We don't want any part of that. The regular members of the party on the inside already realize that. They already realize how much trouble the squad is. So just be happy that you're going to have that opportunity over the next 4 years, because gnashing your teeth about Trump is really counterproductive. He just wanted it more. All the Republicans did.